Welcome to War Stories. War Stories is a hustle and grit podcast series sponsored by Treadstone Associates. Treadstone has worked with hundreds of businesses to help them dominate their industries. Our success led to the development of a simple 4-stage special ops program called the War Room. The War Room's mission objective is simple: build systems and processes with 3 goals: reduce expenses, increase revenue, and ultimately transform the business owner from a manager to a CEO, from a soldier to a general. Each of the 4 battles in the War Room focuses on a different aspect of your business, from accounting, operations, legal, and more. The foundation of each battle is the battle blueprint. The battle blueprint is a strategic plan prepared by a Treadstone general after evaluating your business's strengths and weaknesses. The battle blueprint includes specific, actionable steps to secure mission objectives. It is time to gather your troops and prepare for battle. For a limited time, you can receive Stage 1 battle blueprints for just $99. That is a $3,500 value. In addition, we are also waiving the fees for Stage 2, 3, and 4 battle blueprints. That is a $29,000 value for free. Click the link below to learn more and to schedule your free enlistment call today. Welcome to War Stories. My name is Umar. I'm the COA here at Treadstone. War Stories is a series dedicated to the art of war in business. For centuries, business owners have used principles of war to guide business strategy. The goal of this series is to harness principles of war to grow and defend your business. Our guests include successful entrepreneurs who will discuss their journey, their ups and downs, and the business strategies that brought them to where they are today. Today's guest is Sohaib Shafi. So Sohaib is a CEO at Stallion Constructions, a family-owned business with 25 years of experience in the industry. Stallion has worked on major residential, commercial, and industrial projects across Ontario and across the globe, including luxury homes, retail and restaurants, and industrial warehouses. They have worked with household brands and have tons of international experience. Welcome to War Stories, Sohaib. How are you doing?
Thank you, Umar. That was such a great intro. I'm just ready to go.
I wanted to get you pumped, get the blood flowing,
100%.
Get ready for the podcast. How's your day going? Busy day at work today?
Yeah, it's Saturday, but we're still going. And we have had a good winter, so we're taking full advantage of that. It's not too cold yet.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I guess that's part of the curse, I guess, and the blessing of being an entrepreneur is it's like you don't have weekends, but you don't want to have weekends in a way. So you're always kind of, work is on your mind, even if you're not at work. But would you agree? Do you have that similar experience?
100%. Actually, one of the philosophies that one of my teachers has been saying is, why do we have a weekend? That doesn't make sense. Like, you have a set schedule for 5 days of the week, and then come Saturday, Sunday, you completely throw yourself like out of tune. It's like, just work 7 days a week, but don't work 8 hours, because no one's going to work like optimally for that much time. And I think the study backs that up too. Like, work 4 hours properly, diligently, get a lot done. 80-20 principle, I believe. But do it 7 days a week so that you're consistent. You're waking up consistently. Your sleep is consistent. Your work schedule is consistent. That way, your body and mind are in tune. You have a routine. So, in a perfect world, maybe that would be better. I know right now is a push towards a 4-day work week. So I don't know if that's the right way, if we're going the right way. It sounds good, but I don't know. We got to see the research on it.
No, I agree with you in that respect. I think you could add a 4-day work week, but then work itself becomes a headache, right? Because now what you're doing is you're creating a new habit, a new routine in the rest of the 3 days, and then you're throwing it like completely off track for the 4 days, doing something else. If you're doing the same things but spread apart, I mean, I guess it's just our perspective. Maybe people have different experiences with the 4-day work week, but you have that discipline, you have that schedule. You wake up at the same time every day. sleep at the same time every day, I feel that it increases your efficiency, right? It makes you work more diligently and more effectively at the end of the day. But of course, life always doesn't allow that to happen too, right? People have other obligations, things to do. So there's a lot to consider. But I'm excited for today's podcast. So I've known Shoaib for many years now, and I've seen him as a person grow, and also his company continue to grow. I know your dad started in the industry 25 years ago. So that's a wealth of knowledge that he has there, and then he kind of supports you as well, right? So he's an advisor as you run the company, from what I understand. So let's go back to let's start in the beginning of the podcast. We like to start the journey of the guest, but I want to take kind of two journeys now with our guests. So one is the journey of the current CEO of Stallion Construction, and one is the journey of the roots or the heritage of Stallion Construction. So Shoaib's dad, who started the company many years ago. So Shoaib, tell me a little bit more about your start of the journey. So go back to, I guess, however little you need to go back to. Is it high school, university? I don't know. Or younger. Did you always imagine joining the family business, or did you have other aspirations initially, and then you thought, oh, this is a great opportunity here?
In high school, I was talking to my dad, and like, what should I do with college and university? Where am I headed? And like, I knew I liked physics, I liked math, so engineering was an option. He just looked at me and said, "Yeah, just do civil engineering." I said, "Okay." So it was on the fly. It wasn't, a big opening. It wasn't like a burning passion in me that was like, I need to do construction. Now it's closer to that. So that was how it started. And then throughout university, you see like within civil engineering, all the different aspects. And what no one tells you about civil engineering is that, it's more than just, buildings, bridges, water. It's, if you imagine it, if you have a blank island and now there's people living in it, what do you need to create a civilization, right? So you need to be able to get people from A to B. You need people to have shelter. You need clean water. You need wastewater going out properly. So all these different things that that is what makes up civil engineering. And within civil engineering, of course, you need construction, because you have all those plans, but you need to bring those plans to life in a realistic way. So
is that where the term comes from?
Yeah, I guess that's where the term comes from, and like where not everyone, I guess, really understands what does civil really mean. But now that being in an industry, has been very it's very tough at the beginning in construction, and everybody will tell you that, like, oh my God, like, how do you deal with these like rough and tough guys on site? But you kind of get used to it. It gets like even fun. You're looking for those rough and tough guys just to like test yourself and see, do I know more than this person? What can they teach me? How do I get what I want at the same time to like, benefit the project so that everyone's happy.
Interesting. Well, I didn't want to. I had another way to take this conversation, but I want to explore that a little more. So you're saying, so you feel that the environment that you work in, or the people that you work in, you have you're able to. It's more a give and a take situation where you're able to learn from people who are in these kind of rough and tough type of roles. Is there something you felt that was more of a pertinent lesson, kind of being thrown into that new world, I guess? Or is it kind of more of a general idea?
Definitely knowing when to speak, how to speak, when to tell someone, they're doing something incorrectly. Sometimes it just comes down to, okay, let the person do their job. Minor details we can fix later, instead of just like nitpicking on them and, picking out every single thing that they're doing, because nobody likes that when they're working. They just want to be left alone, and they understand that, hey, if there's a small mistake, we're going to come back and take care of it. In terms of
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
No, interesting. No, that makes sense. So it's more kind of taking away that perfectionist ideal and saying it will become perfect, but you can't. What's that saying? How do you eat a whale? One bite at a time, or something, right? So I don't know. I think that's like it confuses you, the saying, but then you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense, right? Because it's a significantly large animal. So now let's kind of continue on, I guess, the journey. So you decide to study civil engineering, and then do you decide that you're going to apply for jobs, or was it kind of okay? I did civil engineering, and the path was always I'm going to join the family business and help grow the family business.
So right out of school, I did end up going right into the family business right away. Even before that, I would help out here and there, but the main focus was, finish my education, finish school, and then it was, going to the family business and see all the processes that I can improve on, and just go through each step, each rule, one by one, and to see, where are the deficiencies that I can, as a new, I guess, set of eyes, can kind of like help to improve. So whether that was, the way we're writing our emails, hey, we should add this to our email signature, the accounting, certain things that are being done on paper, digitizing them, our progress reports that we're doing with the clients, pictures, social media, all this kind of stuff. And then also just, helping out on site as well as seeing, hey, what are the inefficiencies that I can see on site. And sometimes, being the new person on site, you're going to be wrong. It's like, hey, why don't you just do it this way? And trades are like, no, this is how we always do it. And then it takes, after like 2-3 times of seeing, like, okay, that's why they do it the way that they're doing it, rather than me thinking, I know what to do as a newcomer. So experience is
yeah. So you had more more extensive experience than kind of a typical internship or something during your engineering degree. Would you say?
100%, because you're involved in every single aspect. It's not just, to be honest, to have the drawings on site and to manage the subcontractors, that's half the job, right? And it can be done. You don't have to be stressed out while doing it. But then when you have everything else on top of that, of, okay, client relationships, money management, accounting, and sales and whatnot, then it becomes, okay, that's the other 50% that you have to also have in the back of your head, right? Whereas if you're just a project manager, you're only worried about just the project, just the one site, and that's it.
It goes back to, I think, the war analogy as well, right? When you're a project manager, it could be likened to perhaps, let's say, a senior official in the infantry, right? But then you also have your Navy, you also have your Air Forces, you also have your strategic your strategy department. You have to develop strategy. You have to understand what the long-term vision is, what the goals are, and how you're going to progress towards those goals. So instead of having to focus on one narrow avenue, it's spreading yourself apart. So I guess one thing I wanted to note, I was thinking of this while you were talking as well, like when you mentioned about joining, like that you always the idea of joining the family business was not something that you kind of ever questioned, right? It was something that you were kind of you had joined already before graduating. You learned as you went through school, and then you just naturally transitioned into the experience, and now you've been at the head of the company for many years, and you've had a lot of success as a result. Now, typically, that's not a common story anymore, although it used to be, right? If you look several hundred years ago, I would say, don't quote me on the timeline, but traditionally in both Canada, the States, your parents or your dad or your mom or your family had a business, and you joined that business once you finished training, because you learned underneath them, and then that knowledge from that elder was passed down to you, and then you were able to build on that knowledge. So they spent their life learning this knowledge, and you were able to instantly kind of acquire at least the facts. You still had to go out there and experience and learn through that experience, but it was passed down to you. And that's why people used to have names that reflected their profession too, right? It was the shoemaker is a common name in the States, right? In Canada as well, I think they were shoemakers, right? And your family makes shoes, so your last name reflects your profession, and then your children learn how to make shoes, and then you grow your business as a result. And the reason I start with this is because I think it's such an important aspect of society that's slowly been lost, but I think there's so much value in it, because of the amount of stuff or knowledge that you yourself, I've seen how much you've succeeded with Stallion, and I'm sure without that 25 years of experience that your dad also gave you and then you built on, it would be difficult, right? I'm sure you'd succeed, but it makes it easier, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. So your dad, um, what was his journey like? What was this your grandfather's profession as well, or was this something that your dad decided, I'm going to start a business building buildings?
So I would be the third or fourth generation construction builder in the family, because it has been passed down through the family. Even all of dad's uncles, all of his cousins, they're all in construction as well. And now this is like an international family thing where we have in different countries, different cousins that are there doing construction, building, giant hotels, building, even infrastructure and whatnot. Some are on the engineering side. But yeah, I remember at a very young age, dad did start very, very small. I went with him to certain handyman jobs, and I would be his little helper, helping him out. And we'd be doing contracts for maybe even $5,000. And now we've grown to a point where, not a single subcontract is even $5,000, right? And it's grown to projects that are $4 or $5 million. So you definitely see the growth from $5,000 to $5 million. And it's been a lot of hard work because before, I was in the picture, before we had any of our employees in the picture, it was just him, right? And I would see how hard he was working. Even sometimes he'd have to take the bus to go to the project sites, right? Whereas now we have our trucks, we have our cars. It's a lot easier for us now. And I guess that's just that's business in general. That's not just in construction. You'll see that in any business, even in a tech-driven business. You start off with one computer, get more hardware, get more people. You have virtual assistants and whatnot. So his journey was he definitely took the I'd say the hardest part of growing the business, which is the initial stages. I'd say if you take a house as an example, he's the foundation. He's the superstructure. He's all the mechanical and electrical rough-ins, and I'm like the nice tile that went on the bathroom, or like the smart thermostat. Definitely, he's had a very tough journey to get to where he is now, but because of that, he's able to handle a lot more pressure, a lot more stresses that come with the job. Like certain things, I'll be like, oh my God, like, what are we going to do? He's like, don't worry, this is normal. And like 2 days later, it's like, yeah, he's right. Like that was solved. Like, it wasn't a big deal. So there's definitely a lot of our company worth lies within him and what he's been able to pass down to us in terms of experience and just even technical knowledge and how to deal with clients and how to deal with the subcontractors.
What are there any? I'm sure there's many, but can you give examples of particular, I guess, whether it's specific pieces of advice or just things that you've noticed or character traits within your dad that you felt, oh, this is something that I need to kind of build within myself to succeed? Is there any kind of advice you can pass through?
Yeah. So within construction, there is a lot of technicalities. There's a lot of building science. There's a lot of engineering. So one thing that I really like, actually, subcontractors would come to me and they'd give excuses. I'd be like, why does this look like this? Why isn't this done like the way it's showing in the drawings? And I'd give all these technical excuses, and I'd be trying to understand these technical excuses, and I'd be able to, and it'd be like, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. One thing, and my dad would understand too, but one thing he would say is like, hey, listen, I don't care about your technical excuses. I don't care what you're saying. Not necessarily I don't care, but like, this is when he knows like they're just kind of like making excuses. All I know is that the end product is incorrect. I don't have time for the explanation. Give me the end product. And then they're kind of like, oh crap, yeah, okay. I can't weasel my way out of this, right? Obviously, sometimes when the excuse is genuine, then that's a different scenario. Then we work with them. We go through the drawings. We talk to the architects and say, hey, this isn't working on site. We got to fix this. He's really good with that as well. I'd say that's definitely one example of like where experience trumps my own, I guess, just brute force method. Another thing was actually the war zone analogy we were talking about earlier. He used that a lot when he's talking to us, like, hey, listen, you're the general in the army. You need to control your guys, right? if if your backup isn't supporting you properly, if your subs aren't supporting you properly, if your employees aren't supporting you, then you're gonna fail, right? You need to know how to manage people. You can only do so much on your own, right? Like, yeah, if I were to go and do every job myself, uh, it'll be done correctly. It'll take forever, right? And that's not ideal.
Interesting. So there's two, I think, very good lessons there that I want to kind of touch upon a little more too. So in the first example, you were talking about how there's times where you just have to have the discernment to say, I'm going to put my foot down, right? Just get it done. I know you're going to give excuses and for this and that reason, just get it done. And obviously, at the same time, there's times where you have to be more understanding and say, okay, this is something that I need to let go, right? But the lesson is that there's times where you have to put your foot down, and knowledge is understanding when those times occur, right? So the discernment to say this isn't when I have to say no. And the second example I really like because I talk about this all the time, and I just want to kind of expand on it a little bit more too. So, your dad's analogy of the general, I think it's such a good analogy. That's the foundation of the war room too, where the concept is you're the general of this army, right? And I like how you said you can't just go and do everything, right? So that is very relevant in that analogy because what happens often is there even entrepreneurs, you'll start a business and then you have a bunch of employees and then you take the role of being a micromanager, right? Just watching closely, what is everyone doing, is everyone doing it correctly? You lose the ability to trust people. And then the second aspect is you forget the function of the CEO or the general, right? The function of the CEO or the general is making sure that the troops are moving forward, right? That's the function. Their job is not to hammer the nails. Their job is to say, let's get to that, advance to that next territory, which in construction is building this particular building, right? So that's our objective, our goal. So how do you motivate people? How do you bring them together? How do you implement the procedures and processes to ensure that everyone is working together and working effectively? So I think that's incredible advice on the part of your dad in terms of saying you have to act as a general and make sure that you're making sure that your guys are working effectively and they're taken care of in a way, right? So what you're really doing there is you're taking part of their need to think about certain things away from them, right? So they don't have to think about everything else. How's everything going to be built? It's you, the general, that's saying this is where we're going. This is what we're going to think about. I just have to think about this nail, right? And then this board, or obviously it's more complex than that, but you can extrapolate the idea, I guess. So
100%. Yeah, like you want to make sure that the path is paved for them, and all they have to do is kind of walk the path, right? You have everything scheduled. You're making sure, there's heating in the house for the guys that need heating. There's parking spaces. There's space for them to load and unload their material. The site is clean. Their inspections are scheduled. All these kind of things. Like we know where the client wants their electrical outlets, where they want certain finishes. If the drawings don't mention it. And even just going through the drawing, make sure there's no mistakes in the drawing. If there's any questions for the engineer, rather than them wasting their time, talking to the engineer, hey, okay, I'm going to talk to the engineer, get you your answers. That way I know exactly what you need to do, right? And
so
you can focus on what you need to do.
Exactly. You're taking on a bigger brain load in one sense, in the sense that you have to understand all the components enough to articulate to the people that need to execute their particular functions within those components. So I think
Right.
it's a heavy role, but I think it really prepares you, I guess, to play your function also as the CEO of the entire company as well, right? So
Just like
not just the project
multitasking at
manager.
its core.
Mhm.
I don't
Exactly.
imagine a role outside of a construction project manager that has to do more multitasking.
Yeah, no, definitely, and so I guess for the viewers, kind of the average viewer is not going to be um, a developer, so there obviously is going to be a lack of understanding of the process or what's involved. So you've kind of indirectly given us a lot of the different things involved in the process. Can you give us a high level? Let's say someone is someone's, let's do two examples. You can pick from the second. So first example, we'll do the residential. Someone wants to build a house, right? So what would be that journey? Like very, very high level.
Very, very high level for someone that wants to build a house is first they'd obviously sit down with an architect and a designer. This is assuming they have their property, they know where they're building and whatnot. They've already chosen, the lot and whatnot. You sit down with the architect and designer and you say, hey, this is the layout I need. You get the drawings ready. And now as much details as you can put in the drawing, that's ideal, right? Because then you know what you're getting. In commercial, this is very common where we're told exactly which tile we need, exactly which light bulb is going where. It's very detailed. There's a schedule of items. In residential, that is not there, right? Generally, the practice is, hey, you're going to have flooring here. Yeah, what type? It's going to be tile, it's going to be hardwood, it's going to be laminate. Will the washrooms be painted? Will they have tile? What's the kitchen design? So these things typically the architects leave just, when you're constructing, you'll figure it out, which is what a lot of homeowners aren't prepared for either, because they're also thinking like, okay, let me just get the initial designs, and once we're at that stage, we'll deal with it then. But the more planning you can do, that's definitely the best. You don't want to end up in a situation where, hey, we're ready to tile, get us the tiles next week, and then the homeowner's like, okay, let me go pick them, and the tile they pick isn't in stock, right? It's an 8-week lead time, especially nowadays with the crazy lead times. So the best thing to do would be to plan ahead, but each step, the contractor should be taking the homeowner through the different options and upgrades that's available. So for the foundation, for example, you have your by the code, just damp proofing, which is like a tar material that's sprayed onto the foundation walls. But then the upgrade would be waterproofing and insulating that foundation. But now you get into the discussion of, is that necessary, right? Maybe it's better to hold off on the exterior insulation and use that money towards spray foam insulation on the inside, right? If you're going to do spray foam already and you want extra insulation, yeah, go ahead with that insulation on the outside. Do you need waterproofing outside, or is damp proofing enough? Depends on the soil quality and like the soil types that are surrounding your foundation, right? If it's known to have a lot of water coming in and water flowing through the soil, then yeah, it might be a good idea to have waterproof foundations, right? Whereas if it's a very good soil, very high quality soil that's not going to allow water penetration, then you're okay. There's no need to use that money there. So the contractor should be kind of giving those suggestions as they're going, and a lot of times you do see upselling where the upgrade isn't necessary, but the contractor obviously wants to push for it so that the client can obviously fulfill another change order. That's more money in their pocket. But we try to put ourselves in the client's shoes and almost build it as if it's our own house, our own build. Even a lot of times we won't even take the project as a general contractor. Instead, we'll go in as a consultant, so that we're on the same page, we're on the same team. The client's paying the trades directly, right? So we're in the interest of saving the client money and giving them high quality finish, right? Instead of just pushing them, hey, just spend more, because then you're butting heads a lot, and it's not good for the project.
Interesting. So to clarify, so the difference between the consultant and the general contractor is the general contractor is managing the project on site and then contracting out to each of the different trades, whereas the consultant is hiring the different trades instead of subcontracting them, or the client is hiring them and the consultant is guiding.
So basically, if you wanted to build a house, you could hire a general contractor and say, hey, here's $1 million. Go ahead, I'll be back in a year and my house should be done, right? And you have no interest in how much he's paying the plumber, how much he's paying the electrician. All you're worried about is, here's my house plans, here's what I want, get it done, right? Now, if there's change orders, then the contractor can obviously, they should be upcharging because it is extra work. There is more overhead involved. You have to pay for the change orders and whatnot. But pretty much you have a contract, that's how much money you'll be spending. But now with a consultant, now it's, you take your flat fee, whether it's a flat fee or some will do a cost plus method of 15, 18, 20% above whatever the project costs. And, I can pay the subcontractors directly or even through the consultant, whichever way is like more comfortable. And there's more, I guess, control on the budget, right? And now they choose their finishes. They have a choice in, hey, this electrician's charging 35,000, the other one's charging 30,000. You know, they can decide whether they want to go to the 30,000, 35,000. But it's a consultant's job to kind of advise them, hey, we've worked with both of them before. This is what you're paying for this is why it's 5,000 more. This is why it's 5,000 less. But ultimately, there's more choice when you're in a consultant agreement as a homeowner. And yeah, then you just have more, you can adjust your budget. And as a project goes on, like if it's like a year's time, sometimes the situation changes. If the client's budget has increased, they can get better finishes. If it's decreased, then they might say, hey, let's not put in the tile floor. Let's go with laminate flooring. So those are typically the three contracts that you'll find: a general contractor lump sum contract, a cost plus contract, or just a flat fee consulting contract.
Okay, and the cost plus is usually a consultant, right? Just to clarify.
Yeah, it's similar. It's similar to that. It's just the methodology of the payment. But we do find that the cost plus, it delves into that same realm as the GC for the residential projects, where it becomes like, the general the consultant's interest would be in increasing the project budget.
Yeah,
right? You can see where there's the
there's a misalignment of interest in that in that payment strategy, okay.
Which isn't wrong, but it's a typical contract, and for some projects that would work better, right? Especially if it's if it's a home extension and they're not really clear on how much they're going to extend the house, right? If you want to sign the contractor early on, then you could say 15-18% will give you the contract. Because if there's no plans made, you don't really know, okay, what's the project size? Is it going to be $200,000 or is it going to be like $500,000, right? So you wouldn't be able to give a flat fee on something like that where there's no plans made yet.
Okay, interesting. But I think also, despite the payment structure, or because of the payment structure, one thing I noticed was it becomes more important, especially when you're not doing the consultant contract. You're hiring someone who's doing cost plus or a general contractor, to really trust the person, right? So everything focuses around, like, I trust Sohaib, so I'm going to use him, as opposed to finding someone on the yellow pages and randomly calling them, because the nature of the pricing structure, which, like a lot of professions, right, this happens in many professions, is that there is a slight misalignment. But if you trust the person and the person, they're an honest person, then they have your best interest in mind, right? Is that inaccurate?
Yeah, so I agree completely, and I'll take this from a large scale to a small scale. So if you look at our financial systems and politically, some people are saying capitalism is this, socialism is this, whatever there is. But now at the end of the day, no system will work if the people's hearts aren't aligned correctly, right? If people are not trustworthy or people are not honest, then any system will be taken advantage of, right? Whether it's capitalism, whether it's socialism, no matter what you have, right? The issue isn't the system. Usually, a lot of times it's just the nature of the people themselves. Right now, within construction, it's almost the exact same idea, right? Whatever contract you have, if you have someone that doesn't have your best interest in mind, they're going to have they're going to be able to find loopholes within it, right? So at the end of the day, the most important thing is 100%, do you trust the person, right? And, I've even told clients before, like, listen, maybe there's mistakes, maybe there's delays, but there won't be any lying or cheating, right? When you're in a consultancy contract with us, we're not taking what's the word? Kickbacks, right? And that's the issue with the consulting side of things, right? Where it seems almost foolproof, like, okay, I'm going to pay the subcontractors directly. I have the contracts with them directly, but a lot of consultants are able to still get their kickbacks, to whereas the framework will quote the client, $175,000, but in actuality it was $172,000, right? And then there's a kickback for the consultant, right? So even in that, there's still a kick. And a consultant might come and say, hey, Stallion's going to give you 150,000 for your project. I'm going to only charge you 100,000. But then in actuality, they're getting all these kickbacks, whatever it is. If they're getting a discount at the tile shop, they don't disclose that to the client. Whereas for us, we do say, like, not to pat ourselves on the back. There's a lot of honest guys out there. But heck, whatever discount we're getting at Rona, whatever discount we're getting at the tile shop, right? I already have my flat fee. I'm charging you for my services. I don't need to have, extras coming in where it's going to ruin our relationship, where I'm going to have misaligned, intentions, right? And even within obviously the lump sum point of view, it's there. People are able to take advantage of the contract, putting in change orders that aren't necessary, overvaluing certain line items and whatnot. So, trust and honesty is definitely the most important thing when it comes to the profession. And I mean, if you're going to be signing a contract to someone for $1 million, you definitely need trust and honesty. Saving 100,000, it might not be worth it at the end if the other person doesn't have your interests, at high priority.
For sure. I 100% agree. I think, your statement directly contradicted the underlying foundation of capitalism, but although I agree, I'm sure a lot of our viewers know the theory, the invisible hand, free market capitalism, that if everyone's interests are, everyone is seeking personal interest, then all of society progresses. But in reality, if you're seeking only absolutely your personal interests, then there is nothing greater that is stopping you from doing anything that you should not be doing, right? So in reality, it's not seeking absolutely your personal interests, but it's taking an honest approach. And while considering your personal interests, obviously they're important, right? That you need to earn a living. I think a classic example of this is the real estate space, where when you hire a realtor, they are paid a commission. So it's in their best interest to have the highest price possible, right? Or that's what you would think. So if I'm being represented as a buyer, then shouldn't it be in their best interest to have the lowest price possible? But it's not, right? Because their commission is 2.5%. Or if they're representing a seller, is it in their best interest to have the property on the market for another couple of months and increase the price maybe by 50 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand, which is a big amount for the seller, but for their commission, it's nothing, because the main commission comes from the main piece of the pie, right? I'm giving this example because a lot of our viewers are realtors, and I think at the end of the day, that's why it's so important to have people you trust, right? It's people who have good values, people who are not just looking to rip anyone off and make the most that they can. It's, okay, I'm offering you a service. This is the value of my service. We're going to agree on the value and the service, and then we're going to make this business exchange, and then it's going to be done in that trustful way, with nothing hidden, nothing kind of secret, right? It's just everything's there on the table. And I think that's very important, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, where that message is lost in the idea of just chase that money, right? Where, yes, you got to progress, you got to advance the army, you got to capture more ground, but you have to do it in a way where you're holding those higher values, I think, where they belong, which is above wealth. So with that note, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. With the with the realtors that we work with, you have to have self-interest, of course. And what we tell them is, listen, the reason we're not doing this for free, we're not doing this for enjoyment, right? The whole point is that, you make some money, we make some money, and the client is happy. If it's an investment purpose, the client is making money as well, right? But the thing is, you want the interest to be long-term, not short-term. Because to make short-term, any business owner will tell you that's very easy to make short-term money, right? Whether that means sacrificing trust, sacrificing quality, cutting corners, that's a very easy thing to do, right? And everybody will agree about that across the board. But for a long-term, to create a reputation, to create a name for yourself, and to have recurring customers, that's where you need the honesty and trust. And you'll make less money today, but it'll come back tenfold tomorrow.
100%, 100%. The right philosophy to conduct business. So I think there needs to be an amendment to Adam Smith's theory. Maybe the invisible hand needs some guidance, right? So um, yeah. So I think we can take a short break, and then we'll come back and have some final thoughts. We had uh, a lot of topics to discuss with Shoaib, but I think the conversation went so well that I liked where it was going, so I let it go where it was going, and then we can maybe spend another 5-10 minutes, give you guys some final thoughts, some good insights into the construction industry, from a developer of a major development company, with tons of experience and background. So just hang tight. We'll be back in 2 minutes. War Stories is a hustle and grit podcast series sponsored by Treadstone Associates. Treadstone has worked with hundreds of businesses to help them dominate their industries. Our success led to the development of a simple 4-stage special ops program called the War Room. The War Room's mission objective is simple: build systems and processes with 3 goals: reduce expenses, increase revenue, and ultimately transform the business owner from a manager to a CEO, from a soldier to a general. Each of the 4 battles in the War Room focuses on a different aspect of your business, from accounting, operations, legal, and more. The foundation of each battle is the battle blueprint. The battle blueprint is a strategic plan prepared by a Treadstone general after evaluating your business's strengths and weaknesses. The battle blueprint includes specific, actionable steps to secure mission objectives. It is time to gather your troops and prepare for battle. For a limited time, you can receive Stage 1 battle blueprints for just $99. That is a $3,500 value. In addition, we are also waiving the fees for Stage 2, 3, and 4 battle blueprints. That is a $29,000 value for free. Click the link below to learn more and to schedule your free enlistment call today. Okay, welcome back. So we've had some interesting discussions with Shoaib today about just the GC, general contractor or consultant journey, what it's like to work with a general contractor or a consultant building residential real estate or even commercial and industrial real estate. And I think there's a lot of questions that people often have when they think of working with a general contractor or a consultant. So I wanted to touch upon those different kind of common questions that people have in the last 5 to 10 minutes of this podcast. So, starting off, let's say I am someone that's looking to build something, right? So, whether it's a residential home or commercial property or something, when do you think is the right time to contact a general contractor? And is a general contractor someone that you should contact right away in the beginning, or should you maybe speak to someone else first, maybe an architect or someone else?
Typically, I would say you should speak to a general contractor as soon as possible. If you can get them on board as soon as possible, that'll only help you. Because a lot of times when you have architectural drawings or designers, sometimes they make mistakes or there's certain issues that come up. For example, recently, a lady came to us for with her house. She had her drawings already in process. Then she signed her contract with us, and then she sent us a drawing afterwards. And I was reviewing the drawings, and I noticed that she had a underneath her garage was unexcavated. Right, usually underneath the garage is it's unexcavated. Sorry, she had it excavated. Right, she wanted to put like a little movie theater in there, which is normal. But next to the movie theater, within that same section under the garage, she wanted to have her mechanical room. And being from the construction side of things, I saw that as a problem, right? And normally, it kind of makes sense. Oh, it's tucked away. Low ceilings are there. We don't like just throw the mechanical room in there because we don't want our living space to be there because it's a low ceiling, no windows, nothing like that. But I told them, listen, like, how are you gonna do the venting for uh, your water heater, your HRV, anything that needs to be any piece of equipment that goes in there that needs venting. how are you going to vent it? Because the slab is at grade level. You don't have a foundation wall up there where you can vent through, right? And then they sent it back to the engineers and they said, oh yeah, you're right. Thank you for that. And they had that moved over somewhere else, right? You're either gonna have a really big ugly bulkhead going, outside the mechanical room, or you're gonna have like some odd box within the garage, right? So certain things like that come up where you'd want to have the GC there or someone with construction experience there to kind of tell you, hey, that's a mistake. Don't do it like that, right? Because obviously, on paper is very different from the constructability of certain things.
Okay.
Even another example is the length of a TGI joist, right? The architect had used the maximum length allowable for the TGI joist, and by code and by the books, everything's okay. But when you go with the maximum length, you're looking at possible deflection. So when you're walking on the floor, or there's something heavy that's that comes on the floor, you might see some bounce in the floor, which you don't want, especially if you have like tile. You're going to have cracks in the tile. You're going to have squeaking. So certain things like that, the GC is able to pick up on beforehand. So as early as possible is ideal, just so that you have that, I guess, knowledge base with you. So even
Okay.
before the
So
architect, sometimes we'll even recommend our own architects that we work with, that we've had a good experience with, just so that things are more smooth and everything goes well.
okay, so the sooner the better, and usually, or it's recommended before even hiring the architect themselves. So I guess the next question then, what about um, people that want to just complete everything themselves? So someone's thinking, okay, I have to decide between hiring a general contractor or I'm going to go about everything myself. So maybe hire subcontractors myself and handle the project myself. Is there a general rule or a rule of thumb or advice that you provide, or does it also depend on also the type of project as well? So two questions, I guess.
So anyone that's doing a professional service should be providing value, right? So when we're charging the client our fee, typically what we're expecting is that that amount of money they should be saving in their project, right? So now whether that's getting discounts from suppliers, getting better rates from the trades, avoiding delays and avoiding mistakes, however that shows up. So if you have experience in doing builds, if you have experience in construction, yeah, maybe you can manage it yourself. But the whole point in hiring a professional, hiring a GC, hiring a consulting, is so that they can use their experience to obviously save you money and give you the best value. Right? It's just similar to that foundation example I gave. If your foundation subcontractor is trying to upsell you on waterproofing and insulation when you don't need it, uh, and you don't have the experience to kind of tell, like, do I need this or not? You'd be losing money on that, right? Whereas a consultant would be able to tell you, hey, you don't need to spend this money elsewhere, or just save the money and invest it elsewhere. Even
Interesting, and yeah.
sorry, even like a simple, let's say a washroom renovation. How do you know which products are worth using? Is Schluter really worth investing in versus the number two brand in the market? Sometimes yes, Schluter is the best case. You do need it for a certain washroom. Sometimes, hey, this washroom's in the basement. You don't really have anything complex. It's not a curbless shower. You don't need the most high-end waterproofing system, right? Sometimes tiles that people pick out, they might see a luxury brand, but it's like, hey, we've seen this tile before. It looks very similar, but it's half the price. If you want to go with that one, faucets, it's very easy to get sold on some very cheap faucets, but you know, or even very high end faucets, right? Like faucets, for example, plumbing is actually a great example because if you have experience, you'll know that the best faucets to go with is the big brands, right? Not necessarily the high end, super luxury brands, and never the low quality, no name brands, because the no name brands will leak and you'll never be able to contact them for support. And the high end brands, they don't have that infrastructure for replacing cartridges and whatnot. Whereas Moen and American Standard, you just go to Home Depot and they have a lifetime warranty on replacing cartridges, right? So even small items like that, your GC will be able to guide you in those directions. It just saves you headaches in the future.
And headaches that can be expensive and end up costing you more than the price of the GC as well.
Exactly.
Right. So
So our whole philosophy is that our products and services will save you time and money in the long term. Uh, we're benefiting you with our services rather than you just spending money just for the sake of saving some time or not having to do it yourself.
Okay, so now let's say someone decides, okay, I want to hire uh, Stallion Constructions. I want to work with Shoaib. I listen to him. He's a knowledgeable guy. Seems like he knows what he's doing. I hire Shoaib. I sign the contract. Now, what can I expect in the next, let's say, 2 weeks of the process? What will happen?
So it depends on the stage of the project. If they're brand new, they haven't talked to anyone yet, haven't decided any architect or anything yet, then we would typically get into a phase of, okay, let's talk to different architects with you. Let's see which architect fits your budget and your needs. Uh, you know, uh, if they have a site already, we'll visit the site, give them our input, show them things that we've done in the past. If they have any ideas, we tell them, hey, this is the hurdles for those ideas. Here's how to overcome them. If they're at a stage where they already have their drawings, let's say they have drawings as pre-permit, then we'll do a drawing review with them and go through it and say, hey, here's where your issues are going to come up. Get this changed before you go into permit, right? If they have the permit and they're ready to start construction, then it's pretty much, okay, that's great. Let's price out the job for you. Let's schedule some trades to get ready to start as soon as possible. And then within 2 weeks, we should be able to even start the groundbreaking, if all goes well, weather's permitted and whatnot.
It's fast start. I think I would have assumed it would have taken a lot longer to get to that stage. So that's pretty cool. Um, so tons of great advice. I think this this podcast was supposed to go on one journey. We went on another one, and I kind of I enjoyed it as well. Learning about the process, what you guys are doing, and what to expect when you're going on that journey. When you want to maybe build a house, build your own custom house, or build something in the commercial industrial space, whatever it may be. What expectation should be. So before we kind of conclude, or as we conclude, I guess, Shoaib, do you have any final words from anything related to any part of this podcast?
I'd say construction, if you're going to do it yourself, it is very difficult. Hire someone that you trust. Trustworthiness is the key thing that you're going to look for when you're hiring someone in construction. Um, and I mean, yeah, there's a lot of technical details. There's a lot of material choices. There's a lot of subcontractors out there. One of the key benefits of hiring a general contractor is that they've been doing this for so many years. They've been through 5, 10 different plumbers, 10 different electricians. They know who has the best value, right? If you're going to do it yourself, yeah, maybe you can just go with the most expensive guys. They're going to give quality service, but there are those guys out there that they're not necessarily the most expensive, but they still give the same level of quality work. And that's the benefit of working with the GC, that you have access to their network, and the GC's network is a big part of their value.
So trust your GC and know their value. Thank you for joining us,
100%.
Shoaib. War Stories is a hustle and grit podcast series sponsored by Treadstone Associates. Treadstone has worked with hundreds of businesses to help them dominate their industries. Our success led to the development of a simple 4-stage special ops program called the War Room. The War Room's mission objective is simple: build systems and processes with 3 goals: reduce expenses, increase revenue, and ultimately transform the business owner from a manager to a CEO, from a soldier to a general. Each of the 4 battles in the War Room focuses on a different aspect of your business, from accounting, operations, legal, and more. The foundation of each battle is the battle blueprint. The battle blueprint is a strategic plan prepared by a Treadstone general after evaluating your business's strengths and weaknesses. The battle blueprint includes specific, actionable steps to secure mission objectives. It is time to gather your troops and prepare for battle. For a limited time, you can receive Stage 1 battle blueprints for just $99. That is a $3,500 value. In addition, we are also waiving the fees for Stage 2, 3, and 4 battle blueprints. That is a $29,000 value for free. Click the link below to learn more and to schedule your free enlistment call today.